All right, I've been calling Donald Trump a racist motherfucker ever since he got into the race. And his retweeting of various white supremacist tweets, his talking bad about Mexicans, Muslims, etc. If that wasn't enough for you, this story should seal the deal. Donald Trump's ex-butler, and let's just make sure that we get all of this straight, Donald Trump's ex-butler, who now conducts tours at his Mar-a-Lago property down in Florida. The guy's name is Anthony Senecal. This guy is a racist motherfucker. And on top of it, he was Donald Trump's butler for 17 years. Now, if you weren't aware of it, and I'm not going to repeat everything he said, this guy has made death threats against President Obama, President Obama's wife, Hillary Clinton, various other people. But Donald Trump, quote unquote, is not a racist. You mean to tell me that this guy's been floating around making these comments, obviously on Facebook, and he did not once enunciate his feelings to Donald Trump, who he probably sees every day when Trump's down at that property, his feelings for President Obama? That's bullshit. This guy needs to be arrested for making threats against the president. If anybody else had made these threats, they would have been arrested already. If I want to bring to mind the monitoring that goes on here, and certain people obviously are monitored over the internet, and I guess, quote unquote, certain people aren't monitored. Now that's bullshit. The FBI and various other people knew about this guy. They just let this shit go. All right. Now that, and I say that because we had one woman in Maryland who made some threats against police, and the next day the police and FBI were at her door taking her to jail for making those threats. So if they could get on this lady for just threatening police and not naming individual police, just police in general, they could catch up with her. This guy made us, making specific threats, talking about Obama should be hung, the army should take him out and shoot him, various, all kinds of crap. But again, he doesn't officially work for Donald Trump, but he works for Donald Trump. So for those of you, like I said, who think that Donald Trump is not a racist, this one, as far as I'm concerned, it just seals the deal for me.
Okay, so today we learned that 74-year-old Anthony Senecal, the man previously known to the world as the former butler and affable house historian of Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, who says he's worked with Trump for nearly 30 years, also kept a Facebook page filled with hateful and threatening statements about President Obama. Mother Jones, who first broke the story, revealed dozens and dozens of unbelievably disturbing quotes written by Anthony Senecal. Two such comments from May 23rd, 2015, less than a month before Trump declared his candidacy, read, quote, "Joseph, I hate to say it again, but I feel it is time for the second American Revolution. The only way we will change this crooked government is to bleep it. This might be the time with this Kenyan fraud in power." Another one, "Not me, Terry. With the last breath I draw, I will help rid America of the scum infested in its government, and if that means dragging that bleepless bleep head from the White Mosque and hanging his scrawny bleep from the portico, count me in." Today, NBC News spoke to Senecal, and when asked on the record with a reporter about issues he has with President Obama that led him to say the military should take him out, he restated his explicit threat.
There's more than some issues with him. He's a damn traitor. 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 Period. That's the way I feel.
And so you think that that's, I guess, what should be done with traitors?
I think he ought to be hung. I think he should be hung. I think he should be hung next to Hillary Clinton, and I think it should be public. I think it should be televised. I think it ought to be done from the portico of the White Mosque. It used to be the White House.
Senecal then went on to say that we should bomb cities like Detroit and Milwaukee, which have been, quote, totally disgraced by Muslims.
I actually think that we should designate those as nuclear bomb sites.
What do you mean?
You need to bomb them out.
Even though they're in the U.S.?
I could care less if they're in the U.S. I don't want them in the U.S.
Right.
They don't belong here. They belong in the sand dunes where they came from.
Senecal noted to NBC News that he had not shared his views on President Obama with Trump. Today, the Trump campaign said in a statement he does not work at Mar-a-Lago, hasn't in many years. We totally disavow and condemn these horrible statements. We should point out that Senecal was interviewed and photographed by the New York Times and NBC News at the Mar-a-Lago estate earlier this year. The Secret Service, meanwhile, put out a statement saying the U.S. Secret Service is aware of this matter and will conduct the appropriate investigation. Joining me now is David Corn, MSNBC political analyst, Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones, where he broke the story of Trump's one-time butler's threatening Facebook message about the president. Not a sentence I was expecting to utter. How did this come about? Who tipped you off? How did you find this?
I have somebody who basically stumbled across one of his posts on Facebook and sent it to me and said, you should look further into this. And I did. I spent more hours than I care to admit scrolling back through Tony Senecal's timeline yesterday and found a host of remarks. The first one I was tipped off to was the recent one in which he said the military in Obama's first term should have taken Obama out and shot him as an enemy agent. And as I went back through his timeline, I found other remarks in which he called for the president to be killed, and lots of other extreme hateful remarks about Obama and his wife, Hillary Clinton, and even Republican leaders. A lot of remarks that some people consider racist and really a host of statements that are anti-Muslim. You know, I wish I could recite some of them for you. They are in the piece. People can read them at motherjones.com.
Yes.
But I don't want to get in trouble here with standards and practices.
Well, so who cares, right? I mean, that's the question here. People have associates or employees. I mean,
Right.
If this was a guy who was a caddy at one of Trump's golf courses, you know, who knows what there's all sorts of people who have all sorts of politics. Why do you think this is a story?
Well, he is at this moment the in-house historian at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, Hope Hicks and others have said he has nothing to do with them, but he claims, and this was the New York Times story that came out a couple of months ago, and it wasn't contradicted, that when he gave up his duties as butler in 2009, actually, as he told me, he wanted to resign at the time, and Donald Trump said, no, don't resign, stop acting as butler and be our in-house historian. And he tells me that he still works at Mar-a-Lago. He's not on the payroll, but he conducts tours there, and he's paid by the people who go on the tours for that activity. So in some ways, he's still a contractor for Trump at the estate. And so that's kind of important. And I think it's just, interesting to note the type of support and the type of people that Donald Trump surrounds himself with, or probably in a more psychological sense, Chris, the type of activity and sentiment that he seems to be enabling. He's really letting people come forward with their full resentments and hatreds, and they're not feeling shy about voicing them in the aftermath of Donald Trump's announcement.
Well, I will say this, Mr. Senecal, to his credit, said those statements on the record and own them. So you have them there. David Corn, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it.
All right, so for those of you who obviously, hopefully have internet access, just go to the Mother Jones website, and David Corn wrote this article Thursday, May 12th. And I mean, this particular clip didn't do justice to what this prick Anthony Senecal basically has written. I mean, this stuff is horrendous. He goes into talking about President Obama's wife, he and his buddies talking about calling her Sasquatch claiming that she's got more sperm than President Obama. They both talk about, well, if they're going to hang Obama, they need to hang her as well. I mean, this is ridiculous. You cannot tell me that Donald Trump didn't know what this guy was doing for all these years. So, again, this is going to pop up. You know, it's going to pop up once he and Hillary Clinton actually are the confirmed nominees, because this is total bullshit. And Trump even firing this guy wouldn't be enough. And now, according to reports, the Secret Service is now looking into this guy. Yeah, and what? Yeah, right. And what are they going to do as soon as if they try to snatch this guy up? You know, Donald Trump's going to pitch a bitch, but I would give less than two shits about him pitching a bitch with all the bullshit that this guy's got written about Obama and his wife. And let him go get his attorneys that are the best in the world to get this guy out of this. Fuck Donald Trump and fuck Anthony Senecal.